Good morning, Morgan, and good morning to any of Morgan's friends that have joined us in today's video. And today, there's just going to be a lot of reading because this is the beginning of the new series on internet access. And let's just go ahead and get this started. It's going to be painful, so dig in.
The urlib.request module defines functions and classes which help in opening URLs, mostly HTTP, in a complex world, basic and digest authentication, redirections, cookies, and more. The urlib.
All right, so this is the layout of the bit of code that we're going to use. There's a ton of more methods involved in this URL library, okay, and we're going to discuss all of them in this series, okay, and so let's just keep going.
Open URL, which can be either a string containing a valid, properly encoded URL, or a request object. Data must be an object specifying additional data to be sent to the server, or none if no such data is needed. See request for details. The optional timeout parameter specifies a timeout in seconds for blocking operations like the connection attempt. If not specified, the global default timeout setting will be used. This actually only works for HTTP, HTTPS, and FTP connections. If context is specified, it must be a SSL.SSL context instance describing the various SSL options. See HTTPS connection for more details.
Aha! Now you're starting to understand how complex this is, but if you learn this forwards and backwards, it's going to pay big dividends in the future.
The optional CAFL and CAPITH parameters specify a set of trusted CA certificates for HTTPS requests. CAFL should point to a single file containing a bundle of CA certificates, whereas CAPITH should point to a directory of hashed certificate files. More information can be found in SSL.SSL context, load_verify_locations. The kdefault parameter is ignored.
All right, so some of the databases or servers that we're going to want to access, they're not going to let just any Johnny-come-lately in there. You're going to need to knock on the door and ask permission to get in. That's what all that certificate nonsense is talking about, and you're going to learn it forwards and backwards.
This function always returns an object which can work as a context manager and has the properties URL, headers, and status. See urlib.response.addinforl for more detail on these properties. For HTTP and HTTPS URLs, this function returns a http.client.httpResponse object slightly modified. In addition to the three new methods above, the message attribute contains the same information as the reason attribute, the reason phrase returned by server, instead of the response headers as it is specified in the documentation for HTTP response. For FTP, file, and data URLs and requests explicitly handled by Legacy URL Opener and Fancy URL Opener classes, this function returns a urlib.response.addinforl object. Raises URL error on protocol errors. Note that none may be returned if no handler handles the request, though the default installed global opener director uses unknown handler to ensure this never happens. In addition, if proxy settings are detected, for example, when a *_proxy environment variable like http_proxy is set, proxy handler is default installed and makes sure the requests are handled through the proxy. The legacy urlib.urlipin function from Python 2.6 and earlier has been discontinued. urlib.request.urlipin corresponds to the old urlib2.urlipin. Proxy handling, which was done by passing a dictionary parameter to urlib.urlipin, can be obtained by using proxy handler objects. The default opener raises an auditing event urlib request with arguments fooURL, data, headers, method taken from the request object.
All right, none of that made any sense to you, I'm sure, although there might be some geniuses out there where that's not true. But by the end of this series, I want everyone to understand everything they're talking about and know how every one of these modules works forwards and backwards. Then here's a little stuff about deprecation, because, hey, this version, we took this out, stuff, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and then here's the example, okay, that we're going to look at here in a minute in the code. It's just a simple lookup. We look up the Python. We go to the Python.org website, and we just take the first 300 characters we see, and that's it. We're just knocking on the door, saying, hey, can we take a look at this? And then it returns it, and then we print it, and there you go. Of course, there's a lot more to this, but it's beginning. Anyway, let's go take a look at the. And here we have the code. Very simple, right? We got our import statement. Okay. URLib is the top. Request is the basement. And URL open is one of the rooms in the basement. Remember the scope. Okay. Because there's a lot of rooms in this basement. And there might be more than one basement in this house. Okay. All right. So with that said, let's go ahead and run the code and take a look at the output. All right. All right. Chugga, 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 boom! And it looks like it worked. Let's go take a look. And here we are in the output. And if you have been exposed to HTML code, and I think most of you probably have, you'll recognize it. All right. Now, it's not very, it's in a kind of rough shape. And as we go through the series, we're going to show you how to make this code look more like what it's supposed to. We're going to look at all the different bits and pieces and how to maneuver around in this HTML code. And we're going to learn how to extract data. And we're actually, if you can believe this, there are little programs embedded in the HTML that'll go and do things for us. There's little things that you click on in the program, and then it goes and brings you back data. Yeah, those are programs, and we're going to learn how to access those programs so that they can go get us data. That's right. So we go like, hey man, bring me like 5 years worth of historical accounting data for Xerox. Oh, does Xerox even exist anymore? And then you come back and you download it into, a little Excel file or blah, 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 blah. That's what we're going to be doing with this code eventually. But for today, we're just going to look at the first 300 bytes in that file. And with that, the video is over, and we'll see you in the next one.